Welcome to the Dare to Share Challenge. I am so excited to have you back with us because we have another incredible guest waiting in the wings, ready to take to the stage. She is ready to dare to share. Dare to share what? Her truth, her story, most importantly, her vulnerability. Why? So that you see the human behind the perception. So the next time you're looking up at someone who inspires you and motivates you and empowers you, you realize that behind the scenes, they're really no different to you. And if they can do it, then so can you. So that being said, let's welcome our guest today to the stage, Miss Rachel Rose. Welcome, welcome.
Hi. Oh, I'm so excited for this. So good.
I'm so
Oh,
excited to have you with us. Now, Rachel, before we dive in, I always like to ask everyone why you're here because the
mm,
Dare to Share stage is it's not like your typical podcast, right? We get a little bit
yeah.
deeper over here. We get a little bit more stretchy, a little bit more edgy, and it's
Mm.
not for everyone. So what made you say, yeah, you know what? I'm going to be part of that.
Well, as you can see, I'm a relationship and boundaries coach. I'm really passionate about women who are successful going after what they want when it comes to love. And for me, the best thing that every woman can do is bare their soul so that we have a blueprint of what it is that we want to unapologetically step into moving forward. I think the more that we share, the more we each see it's okay to be vulnerable, it's okay to make mistakes, and that each of us in our own unique way can alchemize those experiences to just build on the incredible women that we are and evolve into that next iteration of who we're supposed to be as well.
Wow, so powerful. And so being part of the Dad Share Challenge just aligns completely with what you believe in already.
100%. Yes.
I love that. So before we dive into the big questions, we do need to clear something up. And that's
Okay.
which level of vulnerability you're going to be sharing with us today. Now, don't
Oh.
panic. I have two options for you. So we have option number one, which is the
Okay.
stretchy level. Okay. Now, this
Okay.
is it's your life, it's your journey, it's your hero story, it's everything that you've overcome, your trials, your tribulations, you've come out the other side, the champion, you've learned the lessons, and now you're here to pass that wisdom on to others. Or we have the extreme level. And it's extreme, right? There's no getting around it. This is sharing something that you're navigating, experiencing, growing through in real time right now. It's extreme
Ooh.
because most leaders don't share until they get out the other side. So that being said,
Mm.
there's no get out clause for you guys watching. Everything is equally vulnerable. But Rachel, where do you want to take us today?
Oh, I really want to take you down memory lane because you're going to love those stories about what love looked like for me versus now. So
Oh,
let's
I love
let's do that. You will, yeah, plenty of tea in there.
that. Amazing. So let's dive into the question, shall we?
Go for it.
Okay. So question number one, we'll start off nice and easy, is what does being a real and a raw leader mean to you? And we're not just talking
Mm,
about in business, right? We're talking about the woman, the individual, the human that is living an everyday life, just like you and I. What does that realness and that rawness mean to you? How does that transpire to
mm.
you in your everyday goings?
Yeah, I think now that I'm gonna be 35, it's pretty soon. Oh,
Wow, you
I
look good for
didn't
35.
thank you, thank you. I did not plan this far and I was like, okay, what do we do now? But I just think that the woman that I was in my 20s was very much fixated on if it doesn't look like this, then I'm doing something wrong. And I feel the more I approach my 40s, I'm just like, I don't care. I feel like the women that make the biggest change in this world, not discounting the women that don't have this kind of life I'm going to describe, but the ones that do have the chaos, the ones that do move through things and then become, an even more expansive version of themselves, they're the change makers. Like they're the important people in their feminine line who are here to make a difference. And so for me to be that, how did you describe it? A raw
Real and raw.
and real and raw leader is just about accepting the fact that, hey, sometimes it's going to be messy, but there's always an opportunity to find the beauty in that. And you can always use that to inspire other people, and also like just see what your next edge is. I feel being real and raw for me is all about not thinking that everything has to be cookie cutter. I love, the extreme version that you were offering of something that you were dealing with right now. Because I think that is another great example of, hey, flaws and all, like, what are you as a human being? Forget your title, forget how much you earn. What are you dealing with right now? It's so necessary, because what's the point, in continuing the kind of narrative that women have had to live, in terms of, we've got to be the good girls, we've got to do things by the book, and we've got to stay small. I feel like we're branching out into a whole different chapter in femininity. And so the more real people can be, the better. The more raw you can be, the better. If you've got to cry, in the middle of a podcast because things are so emotional, then do that. You're basically opening the door and leaving it open for women to do the same. For so long we've just been told, like, not what have been told, big girls don't cry, which is ridiculous. Big girls do cry, and we cry a lot. That's how we process and move through things.
Yeah, like, why have I never realized that?
Crazy. Like, what is that supposed to mean? Or even, like, I think it's quite automatic for us Brits as well. Like, if we're crying in a group of people, it's like, sorry, what are you sorry about? Be here, be unapologetic. And I think it's also about, like, just in all areas of life, just saying exactly what you want. Like, obviously, I'm more passionate about the love aspect, which is, what I work with my clients on. Like, nothing is off the table, but really ask for what you want. If you want consistency from men, ask for it. If you want a man that is complete provider for you, ask for that. The only thing that makes it wrong is your opinion and someone else's opinion. They're just thoughts. That's all they are. They're literally just a collection of thoughts that you've attributed a meaning to. And that's all it is. So your desire is, every single desire you have is this naked, beautiful thing that doesn't have to be right or wrong. And, the more authentic all of us show up, as particularly us leaders, then the more we're allowing people to just have those wants, and have those needs, and not make it mean anything at all. And everyone can just embrace the best version of themselves as a result.
That is so powerful. What you just said there about, there's no right or wrong. It's just your own perception of it. That's what's making it feel right or wrong to you.
Right.
So important. And for you guys watching, Rachel just said so much gold, and we haven't even gone into the main question yet. But something that really stuck out for me, and you said it at the beginning, was about, I'm not sure how you phrased it, but it was about embracing, and I say this a lot, that's why it stood out, but embracing the mess, right? And realizing that this is life right now. We're living it right now. It's not when we get to the other side of anything. It's not when we've conquered or mastered or overcome. It's now, this very moment. And I truly believe that we're all in the messy middle of something at any given time. We don't have everything mastered in our lives. And so that really stood out for me.
Yeah, and I think the more people are going to hear this show, the more they're going to realize, wow, every single person is dealing with something. Yeah. Everyone.
Exactly.
Everyone's got a flavor of something going on. So
exactly.
Yeah,
and that's what it's all about. That's what it's all about.
So good. I'm honored to be here. It's good. So good to be a part of this.
Oh, I love it. Okay, I'm excited to ask you the big question. Are you ready?
Okay. I'm scared.
Love it, because the reactions are so different from the guests that I have on this show. Some people are like, my heart is pulsating.
Yeah.
Like my mouth's gone dry. It's like, we're seasoned professionals over here, but
we're like, oh, okay, what's gonna happen next? No, I trust you. Yeah.
Safe space.
Safe space.
So for you guys watching, if you're new here, let's come back a minute. Let's calm the energy. But if you're new here, I never know what any of the speakers or the guests are going to share with me. They might give me a little bit of an idea, but I specifically say don't tell me, because I like to be as intrigued and as mesmerized as you are when they're sharing their dare to share. And The only thing that I ask them is that they stretch themselves a little bit more than normal. They go a little bit deeper. They share a little bit more vulnerability than they normally would. And the reason for that is because that's when we pull back the curtains. We get out of our normal comfort zone of what we deem as our normal level of vulnerability in the online space. And we say, okay, let's take back another layer. Let's open the curtains a little bit more, because this is when we get to see the reality behind the scenes. And that's what we're missing so much from the online space. So, Miss Rachel, with that being said, what are you willing to dare to share with us all today?
Right. So something it's really interesting you said, like, go a little bit deeper. An example that I give a lot in some masterclasses or even like some lives are the dating history I had when I was living in Spain. I think that was the most drastic I've ever been when it came to like finding a partner. And that, I mean, I had no strategy whatsoever. Like, you cannot call that a strategy. It was literally a case of, I'm hot, I'm like early 20s, I can do it. Like, oh, I'm just gonna land a husband. Like, that literally was the mindset. And I definitely went out and did what a lot of, unfortunately, I do stand by this, it is unfortunate. A lot of relationship coaches are still perpetuating this idea that dating and finding love is a numbers game, and it's just like the worst fucking advice. I can swear, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Real and raw here.
Good. So it's like the worst fucking advice I think that exists, because it's just not like you're asking women to burn out for something that can be made so much simpler. And so I remember, my God, I think there was one year I literally went on like 50 dates.
Wow.
Or more. Like, it was
I think I've had that many
ridiculous.
in my life.
Like, it was great, and they was just copy paste, like the same kind of guy. And they weren't really getting past first date. If it did get past first date, it wasn't really, I mean, if you could even call the second one a date, normally it would be like, oh, let's come round and like let me try and get physical. It just wasn't working, right? And I used my optimism that I feel like I got from my mom a lot, in a way that I thought was useful to me. And that was, okay, you're upset, all right, you cry for a day, and then, all right, back on the horse. Whereas now, I could channel that into something a lot more productive, a lot more soul-led. And so I feel like the repercussions of using that kind of positivity, and just doing the same thing over and over again, is exactly what that saying is about, it being insanity. You're not going to get any different results. And so let me tell you some details about some of those dates that I don't think I've ever shared anywhere, like live.
We are all ears.
Yeah. So,
Like leaning in.
literally, like, some of them, like, I've been on a date where we started in a bar in Madrid, and before you know it, we were in the car park of the bar, and he was like, right, the second part of the date is that we're gonna go to this sex show. We're gonna go to it was like kind of like a, not even a sex show, it was like a swingers club, or like a, I'm sure there's way more appropriate words to call it, but like, you walk in and people are just, it's free for all. Like, people are either in
Oh,
a couple,
wow.
they're not. Yeah. What do we call this?
I don't know.
I don't know. A happy house.
An
Let's call it a
orgy.
happy house. Yeah. Orgy carnival. So that was his idea. And I was like, what? And he's like, yeah, I thought it would just, be fun. They have good drinks there. So that was one example. I didn't go. I wasn't, I think like 35-year-old me, or almost 35-year-old me, would have been like, yeah, cool. Like, I want to see, I'm curious. But like, back then I was just terrified, and I was like, no,
I would have been the same.
no, I'm not doing that. Like, I'm with a stranger. There's going to be more strangers, but they're going to be naked. Do I have to get naked? Like, so there was that. Then there was the guy who was like, oh, I'm gonna, come and take you out. And I was like, okay, yeah, fine. This was our second date. Our first date was okay. Wasn't a massive spender, not that the amount is necessary, but he did organize it, and I felt like, for early 20s, I was like, this is pretty good. He was a good like 10 years older than me. And so we went on this date. We had like little tappers, whatever. The second date, he was like, I'm so sorry I'm late, blah blah. He's like an hour late. And so I was like, okay, so where are we going? And he was like, oh yeah, I'm thinking about this like burger place. Do you like hamburgers? Here's me getting excited, think it's gonna be like some
Not McDonald's.
gourmet.
Don't say McDonald's.
Burger King, close. He was like, yeah, because like you're international, like you're from England, so like that's what like you eat, right? Like surely. And I was like, are you out of your fucking mind? Not even what do we have? GBK? Like not even a
Yes.
or something on that level, like a really nice, proper,
Yeah.
nice gourmet burger. No. So yeah, so I was just like, I'm really confused. Like, is this a language barrier? He's like, no, no, no. Like, oh my God. He was like, are you upset? I was like, of course I'm fucking upset. Like, are you joking? Like, this is like me saying to you, let's go to Pounds and Company, which is the same as McDonald's. It's like Pret. Actually, no, it's like Pret. Let's say it's like Pret.
Okay. Yeah.
You would be like, are you high on something? Like, why are we going to Pounds and Company for a date? And then, so that same guy, I was like, well, I'm not doing that. And I was really annoyed because like I had a new wig on, makeup was popping. I was like, what am I supposed to do with this? And that was back in the day when like, yeah, there was internet dating, but it wasn't like the apps weren't like ridiculously
Yeah.
active like that. So you couldn't just jump on and be like, all right, I need a new date. You kind of were like in trouble a little bit, like if that happened, like what a waste. And back then I was wearing like MAC pigment, like those pigment pots that
Yeah. Yeah.
for a 20-something-year-old, like £25 a pot, thank you student loan, but also what the hell. So he was like, oh, okay, well, if you don't want to go, then fine, I'm just gonna like do some errands and stuff, and then I can just see you later. So I was like, hold on, I thought you didn't have plans for the rest of the evening. Oh, well, yeah, I do, which for me just felt like he had another date,
Yeah.
right?
Oh.
Definitely. Like, why would you have like another back-to-back planned so late in the evening? And he's like, oh yeah, but don't worry. I feel like I'm gonna go out to the club after that, and then like I'll come round. And I was like, what? Like, what time is that? And he's like, oh yeah, I'll be around your house like 1 a.m. And I was like, no, you won't. No, thanks.
Obviously, mate.
Yeah, and like what oh man, it was bad. I have so many of these kind of stories. And like even I mean, I was even naughty, I really feel like as has gone on, I've learned how to value the soul of a man and like value human beings. And because I was ruthless, like I've sent men home before just based on me just not being rude and being like,
Okay, you know
yeah,
what? But I want to ask you here, Rachel, because this is the way that you say that is like that's actually easy to do. But I feel like so many women, if you're listening, me included, we would be too scared to do that. And we would just go along with it because we're too scared to say, actually, I deserve better than this. This is not what I want. So
wow,
I would love to
wow.
ask you a little bit about that.
Well, let me just close this window because it's making a lot of noise. All right, so that's closed. Yeah, so you say it in such a nice way, like, but I was really ruthless. This is not good. But I hear what you're saying too, because there's some women that are just kind of like, I have to stay in this
Yeah.
situation. So yeah, go for it. What would you like to know?
Like how do you recommend that you have those, I don't know whether it's even boundaries, but you're able to tap into that, I guess, personal power almost
Mm.
to be able to maybe even get to a date. Okay, let's throw a scenario here. Will we? And this is not
Go
normal
for it.
dare to share everything, but I'm thinking this. Let's throw a scenario out. So we get to a date. The guy is completely not what we thought. We're not
Okay.
attracted to him at all. And it's in a really lame place. It's like a coffee shop, let's go with. What do
Yeah.
you do? Tell us, teach us.
So you say I've walked in, I know immediately I'm not attracted to him.
Yeah,
It's in a shitty place. Did I know it was a shitty place before I got there? Or did I have higher expectations?
maybe you had higher expectations.
Okay. Um, oh, if I'm brutally honest, if I'm really brutally honest, I would, again, I think human decency is something that we can all model
Mhm.
to an extent. I feel like women need to find that balance between being the good girl and modeling human decency. So I would say, oh, hello. I wouldn't walk off. I wouldn't walk off without
Okay.
acknowledging him. That's not fair.
Yeah.
But I'd be like, oh, hi, you're Sam. Oh, hey, Sam. Okay, yeah, I'm Rachel. Should we get a coffee? Or do you know what? Let's find a seat first. Let's just have a seat. and then just settle down. I think like let each other settle down, not order the coffee because I think it's a bit unfair. Like if you feel like you're gonna go, and if you really feel like it's an absolute no, just tell them on the spot and be like, look, I don't want to waste your time. We're both of a certain age, and for some reason I'm just not feeling the physical attraction, and that's something that's really important to me. And I'd rather give you that time back to invest in building whatever I'm sure you're busy building rather than spending it with me. And I already know that there's not going to be a further connection other than possibly friendship. So, how does that sit with you? And like, I know that's quite harsh to say, but, and then like, just leave it there and then be zip. And then
Wow.
he'll just say what he needs to say. And it doesn't, I just feel you save so much time because there's one thing I joke about and say, like, women, they meet these guys and they're like squinting. Have you ever done this squint where it's like your brain is trying to make them more attractive by like
Yes.
making them almost disappear?
Like in this light or in this situation.
And you're waiting for the right angle, like, oh, maybe he is nice. It's like, no, 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 no. You don't fancy him, and that's okay. Like maybe, and like I I get teased by friends who are just like, Rachel, I can't believe you talk about this. And it's like, because this is what people feel and they're not talking about. Like you'll
And we
be
love those conversations.
right, and like you'll be on an app, and like I'm sure so many of your the people in your audience, is it just ladies or everyone?
Everyone, but
Everyone, but particularly the ladies, maybe some men as well. Like you'll have another guy, for example, on a dating app, and all of his pictures, either the angle is like here or like the forehead's cut and whatever. And it's like, oh, okay, you think for me, dimensions of someone's face is important so that I can know one, attraction, and two, it's like, okay, that's your true nature or whatever. And then you get there, and because they've strategically hid parts of themselves they don't like, you're then faced with someone that actually you're not attracted to. So you've just got to be honest with yourself. Like I have done, what a lot again of other relationship coaches have said. I've met a lot of men in singles events when I've cameoed there and trying to get more info about like how men are thinking. And they've said this, like women should just stop trying to look for men that they just feel that passion and they're deeply attracted to and settle. And it's like, I feel so strongly against that because, I have been in situations where I did go against my type and end up in relationships with these people. And passion is so important because when you don't have that in a relationship, that's just a friendship.
yes.
So why would you forfeit that you might as well be on your own for whatever time it takes for you to actually find someone you are attracted to. Because men are, do you think like a man that, for example, on your own scale, you would consider 4 out of 5, 4 out of 10 even, he will turn down a beautiful woman, for example, if he had a foot fetish and this one beautiful model of a woman that happened to not paint her toes up there, he'd be like, you're wonderful, you're amazing, but you're just not for me. And I feel men unapologetically do this so well. Like it's so ingrained. Whereas women are just like, oh, well, biologically, I haven't got that long left. And maybe he's just a nice person. Yeah, he probably is, but we don't just want a good guy. We want a good guy who's emotionally aware, commitment ready, he's ambitious, he's, soul driven in terms of like his own spirituality, and he's sexy for us. He doesn't have to be perfect, but he's got to be for
does he
us.
exist though? Is the question we're asking.
Yes, yeah, he totally does. I think as long as women realize that their own desires are bespoke to them, because, and this is what I meant, like, sexy for you, because it's sexy for you in a case of maybe you're someone who doesn't mind a dad bod at all, or you're someone who does want someone who's definitely athletic, like whatever that is, you will know, and you've had examples most likely in your life where maybe everyone else is like, I don't know what you see in him, but you see it.
Yeah.
And that's what you want, that's what you want to go for. So yeah, just tell him straight. A more reckless one that I've done, which is not nice, is guys, caveat, I was young, but I have to share this. Brought him home. This wasn't a date. This was just like, let me just have my hookup, and I'm young and who cares. And I just changed my damn mind. Like I just had recently moved into my own flat in the middle of Madrid. It was like walking distance from the club, but I was making a decent amount of money there from being a teacher. So I was like, no, let's get a cab. So we got a cab. And by the time we got in, I remember that I had pork chops in the fridge that were glazed in honey. And I remember that my new IKEA duvet was just amazing to lie in on my own with my own body warmth. And so after all the foreplay had done, I was like, yeah, I think you have to go home. I'm really I'm really
But
tired.
But you know what? Again, we go back to that not doing something just
True,
because,
true,
just because they think that they are now entitled, or
true.
even if you think that you wanted it and so you should see it through.
Yeah,
That's actually, I think, really important to say. Like,
yeah,
you can
yeah.
say no at any time and that be okay.
But just don't be as ruthless because he was I hear you, but he was like, "Oh, I hope to see you again." And I was like, "Okay, yeah, bye."
And he did not
Close
see you
the
again.
door. No, 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 no. Block, delete, goodbye. So, there are levels, ladies. Like, definitely enforce your boundaries, like, and all that. But it's mean. That's one of my mean ones. But yeah, just don't be afraid to just say, "Hey, this is not for me."
This is
And
this is amazing advice. I'm going to be like tapping you up after.
yeah, like 100%. I
So good.
think, yeah, we just go for what, because I've been there, I've wasted years and like invested in relationships that I thought, there's one thing I say, for example, like if you think back to like your bad boy phase, which everybody has, and you think about like the typical traits, I think like it's shared very much like is that stoicism or stoicism?
So it,
Stoicism?
yeah.
Yeah, that like, they've probably got a leather jacket or two, they're like a bit broody and all that kind of stuff. And like maybe they have a few tats, and none of those, they're just characteristics that then again, obviously Hollywood play into as well. So it then emphasizes that, and then the same characteristics are played through songs. But those actual characteristics, this is why, a lot of good men that look like fuck boys are like, oh my God, like, so I just look like someone who's just a user and abuser. They're just physical characteristics, right? And if you like a certain height in a man, you like a certain stature, you like a man from a certain country, like that's your type, that's your innate sexual type, like that part is not wrong. And so your aim is just to be unapologetic about finding a good man who's commitment ready and intentional, that is
Mm.
also very in line with that. It doesn't have to be carbon copy, it doesn't have to be like a Chippendale model, but like someone who is in line with what gets you hot. Like it's important, it's so important, otherwise you're going to
Mm.
be 30 years in a marriage looking around. Like my one of my biggest fears is like, imagine women are getting married and then they have a daughter, and that daughter is way 10 times more unapologetic, and she gets the guy that you always wanted, and you resent it. You love
Oh,
your child, but like you resent that. You're like, oh, and I'm stuck with your father who is a good man. It's just silly. Like we're not here for that long.
yeah.
We're really not here for that. Like, I think that's that dawned on me, the fact that like, oh, 35, I was like, oh shit, well, time's ticking, isn't it? Like, all right, what do I want to do? And then, for the listeners listening on there 35 and beyond, it's just you just realize that why would you spend your precious years fitting into a box of why? The years that you don't,
Settling and
makes no sense. Like,
yeah.
God willing, touch wood, everything going well health wise, I'm here for at least another 35 years. And if we're thinking like big long
God, at
term
least.
relationship, at least, that's, if we're talking big long term relationships, that's what, maybe one, maybe three average.
Yeah.
So,
Into perspective.
put it into perspective, go for what you actually want. And I
So,
think,
Rach,
yeah, sorry, honey.
no, I was just going to say, do you have on the back of that then any top tips or advice for the listeners listening and watching on, okay, we've established that we don't want to fuck boys, that we don't want to settle, that we don't want to waste our time and make do. How do we find the right one, if there is
Yeah.
such a thing as the right one?
So, okay, so I have two answers. So, one, we didn't have a chat about it, but hopefully this is okay. I'll just very briefly talk about it. If we want to go into detail, we definitely can. So, I do have a signature program called Attract Your Equal. And that is about like finding this person at your level, not settling, not, and particularly not just going into dating and saying, I hope it just falls into my lap, because love for me is just like any other objective in life. You have to have a plan and a strategy and a formula. And love is just no different. It only feels different because we don't have songs about like getting an engineering degree. We don't have songs about like traveling so we see it in this other bucket, and it's exactly the same as everything else in life, like weight loss or, writing a book, it doesn't matter. So that's what that program is about, and women doing that in 5 months or less. So Claire's going to drop all my details below, so if you're interested, let me know. I'm seeing phenomenal results, like women getting their soulmates within 2 months, and I'm saying 5 months or less, so it's great. On a more like immediate level, if we're not talking about the program, the key thing is I think the one tip I could tell you guys is make sure your funnel. I think two things actually I'm going to say. With your funnel, it's you that has to be the one to really optimize that and make sure that when you're in the talking stage or when you're at that beginning stage, you're setting the scene for exactly what you want, to the point where maybe for some guys you are that annoying girl or woman, excuse me, who's just like dropping things like little jokes like, oh, or maybe in our next honeymoon, but it's a complete joke, but it was also not, because you've already
Yeah.
said, like you want marriage, you're just being cheeky with it. And if that puts a guy off, wonderful, because it's great you disqualified yourself now, because someone intentional is going to laugh about that and be like, oh, okay, yeah, I know she wants this, but obviously she's not a psychopath, hopefully not, and also, yeah, just be upfront and just, I have a friend, for example, she got married actually last year, and we were just talking about her own story, and she said straight up, I told my now husband that I want to get married, and he was like, me too. And it was like, cool. And I think just a lot of women are scared to do that, and it's like, how you don't need to be scared of anything that's not in alignment with you.
Yeah, so
If there's not an
powerful.
alignment, yeah, it will just drop off. And it's like, do you know how many men there are out there? There's so many. Like, we're so connected, like it's absolutely fine. So I would say that, yeah, just make sure you're really upfront. Like, if you don't like the sexy chat straight away, say that. If your expectation, for example, long term is you don't want to move in until you're engaged, say that. Men are much simpler than I think a lot of women like to think they are. They just tell them who you are upfront. Make sure you're as authentic and upfront as possible, and you're automatically going to start filtering out, like, the energy of you knowing exactly what you want is going to bring in your like for like. And then I said, yeah, and then another one I would say was just like detach from the person. Like, I know it can be exciting to, like, particularly if you meet someone organic, it feels a little bit more destined, like, oh my god, I'm supposed to meet them, and oh my gosh, so this means something because our shoulders rubbed and we were on the metro, and this is my soulmate, and it's the same. There's no more weight in the destined meeting online than offline, first of all. And second of all, be more attached to your vision, that soul vision of whatever that is. If you do, like I was saying, like, want to be that high achieving woman that is so in a masculine in their business so much in the day but wants to drop into a feminine, hold that vision. What does that look like? Really know what the details are. And no matter who comes in and drops out, it doesn't matter, because you're going to manifest that. And you only need to really,
So powerful.
yeah, like, you only need to really, like, invest emotionally in all of that when you've got someone on your table and there's a commitment. Not even in the dating stage. When you're committed, then it's like, oh, okay, cool. Like, my vision's here.
How powerful. I love what you just said then. What did you say? You said have more investment in your vision than in, the person that you're talking to.
Yeah.
That right there is gold dust. And I love how this Dead Fair challenge has turned into dating advice.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh my
brilliant.
god, so good. So good.
Rachel, oh my gosh, I feel like I could talk to you for hours. This is so great. But I want you to finish off by telling everyone how they can get in your incredible world, please.
Oh, okay. So I think I mainly live now on Instagram. I used to kind of be everywhere. You can find me on Facebook. So on Facebook, my personal page is Rach Rose, or my business page is Rachel Rose Online. Instagram is way easier to find me. My tag is at I am Rachel with an E-L dot Rose. And then I think I'm on TikTok, but not that much. And I am Rachel Rose without the dot. So super easy. And then obviously my website is www.rachelroseonline.com. If you wanted to learn a little bit more about the program, it's all there under the work with me header. So you can have more information and get in touch if you're curious, because yeah, we all deserve to have a delicious soulmate. Like, why not? It's so important.
I love it. And if you're watching and doing something else at the same time, don't worry. All of the links will be in the show notes below, so you can come back, click on them whenever you're free, and go and get in Rachel's world and manifest that partner that you deserve and you desire. Rachel, what incredible dare to share. This is going to be one for the books. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So
I
much.
had so much fun. And thank you so much for your patience with my caffeine low. So I'm glad that you enjoyed. We had so much fun.
I love it. Thank you so much. And for you guys watching, thank you for joining us. Be sure to share this with someone who needs to hear this story. And until next time, I will see you all on the Dead Share Challenge. Bye for now.
Bye, everyone.